Hi, fellow traders. I hope everybody had a great day today. Mine was a little red. As seems like my MO, I start out in the hole every now and then. Some days I can fight my way out of it. Some days it's just not there. And today the market just wasn't there for me. For the last several days we had a solid market. Today it just wasn't there. Today was one of these days where when you don't see the price action you don't trade. That's what I should have done. But I tried to force it. I tried to make something happen and didn't work out that well. So still has some decent trades, and really, had I recognized the way the market was and I recognized how it was trading, I really could have made some money today. Using a different mentality. The summertime mentality is pretty much what I would have had to use. But I was, the last 3 days kind of excited me. It's the first time we've had 3 days, back to back to back that had real good volatility in, the mid cap plus stocks that I like to trade. So don't really have a message, fresh message for you today, but I want to kind of clarify what I was talking about yesterday, because I did get a comment here on the video from yesterday. And, from what I take of it, he says, hey, Ed, I agree with most of what you said at the beginning. But one thing I surely don't agree with is that the classes are completely live. And that I didn't understand, because my classes are live. I'm there live in the classroom, doing the class every day. So didn't really understand what that was. I'm sure he knows that I'm in the class live. I'm not playing a video for you. But then he talks about how he got, came to the chat room, and, he says a lot of us can't be in the chat room live all day. For a lot of us, that's not possible. He joined the swing trade, but he's home after the Thursday webinars on swing trading. And in the morning, he don't need to log into the swing trade room because I'm trading my own learn classroom strategy for the 2 hours I have before work. So what I'm saying is most people need to learn their own way and at their own pace. And sometimes that means I need to review notes or rewatch the videos over. That's how some people learn. I thought that was the message that I delivered. He's saying he didn't agree with me, and this is what he agrees with. But I honestly thought that's what the message that I was delivering. So, and he says, we all learn different. Some people need repetitive visualization. That's way books and videos help all to learn. And, if it came across that I said videos and books and all of that stuff are worthless, that's not what I meant. What I was talking about in the message I was trying to deliver was passive learning creates knowledge. Active practice creates skill. Okay, so let's break it down. What's the difference between the two? In passive learning is when we take on the role of just being a receptacle of knowledge. We're just taking in knowledge, and that's it. We're just taking in inputs, like you programming a computer, or you saving a file to a jump drive or a disk. They're just receiving that information, and it's just sitting there, and it's going to sit there dormant until it's retrieved. You know, and in this case, we don't directly participate in the learning process. You know, reading a book, watching a video, listening to a lecture, watching a demo, that's part of the learning process, but we're not actively participating in it. We're just receiving knowledge. Active learning is what I'm promoting that needs to take place in conjunction with passive learning, because you need both. It takes place when you're doing more than just listening or reading or watching a video. You know, that's when you're applying the knowledge as you receive it. Guided practice, you know, case studies, when you're doing experiments, you know, participating in hands-on workshops where you're learning the material and then you're able to actively engage in either a discussion, question and answers, you know, because when you're reading a book, you can't ask a teacher a question. You know, the books are there to help you gain knowledge and supplement the knowledge that you're learning. But you have to take that knowledge and activate it. You have to act upon it. And that's my point. You know, that's why I have live classes, because, and I record them, because I know later on you're going to want to watch it 2 or 3 times. It's smart to take notes while you're listening. But for me, and I'm going to tell you the way I learn, and it's because, you know, I have dyslexia, and there's a process that I have to use in order to learn. I watch a video, or I listen to a lecture, or whatever. I take no notes when I listen to it the first time. I don't. Now, the next time I go back and I listen to it, I'm going to take notes. That's just the way I'm programmed. Everybody, you know, does learn differently. You know, and I mentioned that. We're all different types of learners. And we need all of this input. But it means nothing unless we act upon it, unless we activate it. Having all of this book knowledge and everything piled up in your head, and you don't practice putting it into use, or putting it to use, then the knowledge is useless. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if I didn't make that point yesterday and I got you confused, I'm sorry. And here's a, you know, something I borrowed from my teaching. You know, people retain only 10% of what they read. They retain only 20% of what they hear. 30% of what they see. And 50% of what they see and hear together. Alright, so when you read and hear, this is like when you have to define words, or you list something, or you describe something. You know, you don't really get anything out of this. I mean, you get something out of it. It's part of, you know, this learning process. But you can't stop here. You have to actually put it into action. And once you put it into action, you can retain 70% if you write it and you participate in question and answer sessions. You're actively engaged in the class. And, you know, by participating in the discussion, answering questions, and things like that, you retain 90% of what you do. So this is why I do 1 class a week, because you're going to retain 10% of what you read, 20% of what you hear me say in the class, 30% of what you see in the class, in the presentation. So you'll get 50%. You'll remember half of what you see in here at best in the presentation. So that's why I always say you need to go back and practice what we learned. Go back and look at charts, study charts. Study the price action, watch what's happening. Taking notes is great because what I like to do is I like to write notes and talk, say what I'm writing when I'm taking notes. That's what I'm doing the second time around. I used to have to tape record all my classes. So I didn't take notes then, but I took notes, after the class. See, back then we didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have GoPros. We just had tape recorders. I had a mini cassette tape recorder that I would just tape my classes, tape the lecture. But however we need to do it, you have to make sure you activate it. That's going to be the key. And that's what I mean. Reading, books have their place, videos have their place, lectures have their place. But that's passive learning. You can't get to where you need to be being passive. Now, if you're reviewing your notes, you fall into the 70% category. This is active learning. You're engaging yourself in the process. When you take notes, you're engaging yourself in the learning process. You're activating your learning. When you put it into practice, you're activating your learning. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to take from what I said yesterday. And if it was confusing, hopefully this answers that question. The other question I got today was regarding swing trading. Yes, starting in December, I will do swing trading recaps on the stock, once the trade is closed. I will keep the stats just like I'm doing now with the day trading on TraderView. I had to get used to TraderView and understand how I needed to do things before I just went all in. So now that I'm comfortable with the basic setup, in December I'm gonna do the swing trading and go from there. Because now we're just kind of reviewing them in class. In the morning. In chat when we're looking at the stocks that we're going to be watching or that's on our watch list, and we looked at what performed yesterday, what didn't, what failed. That's kind of when I go over, do my trade recap, and then, on Sundays. But I will be adding the swing trading to the day trading video. So starting next month, you're going to have both on the video, and you're going to have both stats for both. So I know, Dylan, you sent me that PM, but you left before I could answer, and I couldn't answer you when we came back for the class because I had to take off early today. But if you're watching, I will be doing that. If not, I will send you a message in the morning. All right, so let's look at our trades for today. Okay, this is where I started off. Just terrible. There's no other way to put it. It was just a bad trade all the way around. You can see here we sold off after, into the close. And, we started pulling up here, and we were trading above the VWAP. So when we're trading above the VWAP moving averages and everything, we're moving up. In my mind, this is going to be a potentially long trade. But what I was concerned about was 106 level, and then right up here at 106.31 we had the 90-day, then we had the 200-day, and then we had the 50-day up here. So I knew if we got through all of this, this would be a nice window of opportunity here. But the biggest windows were short. So I waited for the open. We had this crazy price action here, just kind of hung around. And, you know, once we got below all of this stuff, I felt confident and I took it short. And you see, I took it 100 shares. Okay, so we sold out. My target, it didn't quite get here, so I didn't cover any. We bounced back and looked like we were rejecting here again, and I'm anticipating we made a lower high here. I'm looking for us to just fall through the floor here. So I added 100 shares back. Okay, so I felt good about that, you know, adding 100 here. So now I'm in my full position. We start to move down. This time I'm in, you know, enough to where I could take some off at 103, and that would be a nice gain here. Never could get back to 103. We pulled back, and instead of me getting out here, I was just being stubborn. You know, I'm like, look, this stock has to roll over. It has to. I'm not listening to what the market is telling me. I'm listening to what I believe this stock should do based on the chart. And you know, whenever you do that, that's when things don't go right for you. So I got a little stubborn. I held on twice as long as I should have, and ended up, you know, taking a nice heater here. And that was not the best way to start the day off with. You know, nothing really set up out of the gate. So I tried to be patient. And, you know, had I been in 200 shares here, that would have been nice. From the initial hit, I would have been out half, booked some profit, got back in, would have gotten stopped out on this. You know, but I probably wouldn't have let this thing go. I would have just taken my stop and got out. But, you know, here's just piss poor execution. You know, it was my decision to do what I did. I don't typically add, but I did. And, you know, ended up costing me. Yeah, later on in the day, the stock did sell off. It did sell off. But, you know, I wasn't in it. So the next trade I took was, let's see, MOMO. Okay, we had this big sell-off going into the open. I mean, this was nice. And we had some people in chat that took this. But I didn't. I was, you know, this wasn't a gapper. And it wasn't on my radar. But this was a beautiful sell-off. We had a bounce here. And so we had a slight pullback and we held this level. Now everything's trending down. This is starting to look weak. We have a huge window down to around 21. So I saw this, you know, fading the rest of the day and giving us big potential. At least first target coming back here to 23.40. Didn't do it. Turned around and blanked me out. You know, So that's just par for the course. Now, yeah, eventually it did make the move, but this is the price action that we saw all day. Stocks were just kind of trading sideways, trading in a channel, and it wasn't giving us the clean, fresh moves that we want. So I stuck to my, max loss here that I was gonna take, $100. So that's not bad. So started out the day 0 for 2, which is, pretty bad considering. So the next trade I took was AXTA. Now here's one we had, the stock was halted. It opened up. You see where it opened up a huge gap down. So I'm like, people who are short here are going to be buying the cover. So I expected a rejection here. It didn't come. This candle pushed up, started to pull back. I got in. Not really respecting these daily levels here, which was my mistake on this, and anticipated it rolling back over and coming back to at least the 90. But we pulled down, closed below this level, opened, sold a little bit, got bought up, back over, and here we established above this level here. So I got short here, took some off here, which wasn't that big of a move. Then we kind of bounced, and I stopped out here. So I waited until I could get another, entry. And I'm sorry, I shorted here. I shorted this here. That's what happened. Here it is. I shorted at 30. Shorted here at 31.36. Bought the cover. Some here at 31.22. That was an accident. I was trying to set my target. That's one of these accidental covers. And then I get back in 31.36. And I got in at 31.36. That was the accidental cover. Here's sorry. I got to get back to the right screen here. Sorry about that. There, we got it back. All right, so I shorted here. I covered some here by accident. Ended up covering, it back at break even. And then I shorted it again. Not long after this at 31.20, which is right here. You see the mistake I made. I shorted right into support. Right into the 200 and the 50 day. And ended up getting stopped out. And then I turned around and got short here. And, got two covers on this. So, did pretty good. Did fight back. I was down. I was up. Then I was down. I was back up. Only got like 36.79. That's all I was able to muster out of this. But KR, that was a trade that actually, helped pull me out of the depths. It brought me back and gave me a little bit of life. We still ended the day, minus 215. But KR, was one that really, help me end the day on a high note. Okay, so pardon the Thinkorswim chart on this. It's late. Obviously, you'll see that by the time I uploaded this, it's a little late, and I didn't get a chance to get the chart off of the chart for KR from DOS, because the Sure Trader, Speed Trader platforms, they up or download or reset at night at midnight. So midnight came, it was like 12:02, and took me off the server, and I couldn't bring up the chart for KR. But good thing is I do have the my entries and exits plotted, and I've got the P&L here, so that'll help with this. But just to give you an idea of what I did on this trade, we had the huge sell-off here. I didn't take it under the 5-minute open range low. Now, this was a stock that I had on watch, but it's a higher float stock, so it didn't hit my scan, but I had it on watch. I didn't catch this move because I was in other stocks, so I waited for the pullback, and we ran up. We couldn't push this. We're still below the 5-minute open range low, so I feel pretty good about it. So I get in this trade, I take it. We had a nice flush down, and it just couldn't get to 26. It just couldn't get there. 26 was going to be my first target, and we couldn't. We recovered, and I could have easily taken some. I didn't. I waited. It came back, and you can see the price action we had. This was really weird. It tested once, twice, 3 times. We're still sitting here under the 20, but we're over the 9 here. And I'm still holding on because we're still looking relatively weak. Still looking weak. So I'm hanging on. As long as we're below the opening range low, I feel good about this trade. We ended up selling off, hitting my first target, which at this point was a lower deviation band here. We got a pullback, and I'm not into adding. This would have been a nice add and added some more profit to the table, but I didn't. Came back, took some more off here at the 100-day, and we sold off some more. Kind of had another little bounce here. We were staying below the 20. I was still holding on, and I was looking for the 25.50. That's where I had my order. We came real close to hitting it here, and as we started to bounce, I had to go ahead and take it off at 75. But this was a solid trade. Solid. Had I been able to catch this early, I could have traded this all day and had another one of those banner days. I was just a little impatient at the open. The price action wasn't there. I was just trying to force something, and ended up paying the price. So, we gave back a little bit on the week, and I'm not coming in tomorrow trying to gain it back. I have to take tomorrow as it comes, and whatever opportunities it gives, take advantage of it. If it doesn't, then we just let it ride. We come back next week with renewed energy, renewed focus, and nail this. So that's gonna be all from me tonight. If you want to get in touch with me, it's all my social media. This is the email that I manage pretty much 24/7. So if you want to get me, this is going to be the best place to catch me. Alright, so you guys take it easy. Have a good night. And we will see you in the morning.